What it do? What it do?
What's
My
going
name,
on, man?
yeah, you know what it is. You know, it's the Wise, aka Nail, aka Anderson Carter, Carter. You know, I got all sorts of names back here at home, as well as abroad. Today we got the one and only man, D Ferg, Dwayne Ferguson, one of the legends,
What's up?
man.
What's up? What's up?
No,
No, not yet, man.
hey man, every legend you gotta make that, man. You gotta start somewhere and you build it. But when they tell the story of a legend,
Facts,
you know
facts.
they start all the way from the beginning. So the story of the legend doesn't start at the end. It starts right in the beginning.
That's true. That's true. You're right. You're right. That's a good way of looking at it.
Absolutely. And just what you call to top off the show, you know what I'm gonna do. Let me show you. So you know when I was in the States, actually, one thing you probably don't know, and we'll get to that story. I used to love. I think I was drinking a lot of vodka and maybe a bit of whiskey
Yep.
when we were there. But man, when I came back home to South Africa, everything changed. Like now, this is like me right now. I don't even know if I can show the bottle properly.
What
But
is
like
it? Is it rum?
it's a gin. I'm a
Uh,
I'm a gin dude now, man. Like you know, in South
uh,
Africa, when I first came back, right, it was still a movement that was coming up in South Africa in SA. You know, so right now we got a whole industry of craft gins. Dudes from Cape or specifically like in the Western Cape where Cape Town is. Those dudes are making a whole lot of variety. We've got a few up here as well, but like it's just like pure variety of gins, and I just gotten a whole love of gins right now. That's who I am right now. Like that's my thing.
mm,
So for today,
yeah.
I'm having a catch up with you. You know, I knew I had to pour some drinks, so like I got right here
Right, right.
frozen oranges, dried up frozen oranges, frozen grapefruit. I've got some thyme, two raspberries, as
Man.
well as some pomegranate, which I'm about to pour into this beautiful gin glass filled with ice. I don't even know if this is gonna be a single or a double, man. You know, whatever works. And then one thing I learned about gin in particular, it's not like if you go to the club, they won't give you just like some average tonics and whatnot, whatever's good with all the high sugar content. So right now I use this. It's a British brand, I believe. Fever Tree Elderflower Tonic Water. It's
Wow.
super smooth, man. Like if I was to tell you about these things a few years ago, I can tell you that none of this would exist in my vocabulary. So I gotta make sure I'm having
Wow.
one of the drinks that I love. And I'm sipping the gin I'm sipping today is a Whitley Neal handcrafted gin, blood orange. So it's kind of like it's winter right here in South Africa right now. We're starting winter.
It's winter.
Yeah, man, it's cold as ice actually. Like just
That's crazy.
before I put you on, I was actually wearing like a gown with with some what do you call these? Tom Johns or whatever you call these like some pajama pants as well.
Long Johns.
Long Johns, yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's crazy,
It should
man.
be
It's
what
hot.
it's June now, so it should be the summer right now, right?
Yeah, it's hot
What's the
out
temperature?
here. Today's been kind of cool, but like, uh, what is the temperature? Let me find out real quick. I don't know. It's probably like in the 80s
Fahrenheit.
today. Give me 1 second. 83 degrees Fahrenheit.
Damn.
So that's
So
28 Celsius.
So I mean, of course, people don't really know what's like how our connection comes. But before I get to that, when I first moved to the States, and I'm not sure if it's the same in the Bahamas, but like we use Celsius, degree Celsius. So I remember when we first got to the States, um, it took me a while, probably like a full on year, to actually figure out how Fahrenheit works. So I actually use it not necessarily by temperatures, like specific degrees. I'll do it based on
Right.
feeling. So for me, for example, I knew like the first time because we first started in the spring. I mean in the fall, in autumn. So that was like temperatures would go up to like when we first got there, anything from like 85 to 95, maybe even touching 100 sometimes. And that's when I knew like that's kind of hot.
Right.
And it's also St. Louis is
Right.
also very humid as well. So I just remember I used to associate 80 degrees, 90 degrees, and 100 degrees with kind of like hot, humid. That's when I'll be wearing my,
Right.
my wife beater, um, and with the basketball shorts and the flip flops on campus.
Classic.
You know what it is, man.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I think
Definitely.
I think we're not allowing people
Man.
an idea of like what our story is. Do you remember how we first met? I actually can't remember the first time we met.
So I'm really trying to remember like the first time. I can't remember exactly the first time, but I feel like the first time you were at my house. I feel like it was like you contacted me or we connected somehow on like music. You know what I mean? Somehow, some way, I can't remember exactly. I don't know if it was like through Kitty or like something like that.
Yeah,
And I just knew it was on music. I remember we were kind of like down. I was living down on Maud at the time,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you came down. We were downstairs, and you were playing stuff. And all I remember after that was everything was always about music. Everything was always about like, yeah, man, I get this mixtape. I'm trying to do this project. I'm trying to do this. And I think, I think I think we really linked up in your dorm room one day for real.
Yeah,
I think I was in there with Kitty one day, and we all kind of like spoke. Me, you, Kalilu, Kitty. I think because you all stayed in the same dorm, right?
yeah, yeah. We did.
Yeah, I think that's how I made the initial connection, and then after that, it was history.
Yeah,
It was just like we worked on tracks together, recorded. We did so much stuff, man. We did interviews. We did all kind of things, man. Shot videos. Did all kind of stuff.
word up. And maybe before we dive
So,
into what we did, just maybe give people out there like an idea of like what is it that you do, what you're currently doing, your path, just so people can get an understanding of who D Ferg is.
well, I mean, D-Ferg, I kind of came to like the realization maybe a couple of days ago that I'm a lot of things, but what I really consider myself now is like a director, and not just a director of like film or anything like that. Just like I give direction, in all of my fields. I produce music, I work with artists, engineering, and producing their records, writing songs, also videography and photography, and some cinematography. And with all of those things, everything that I do is really based on like my direction. When I work with other artists, it's more about how I'm kind of like giving them pointers and directing them in their work and assisting them with taking that whatever project it is that they're working on to the next level, or in the direction that they're trying to take it to. And so yeah, I kind of coined myself a director now. So I guess it just sums it up.
All right, word. I mean, like, what are some of your the challenges that you've had? Like, I'm a part of a group on Telegram. I think it's called Street 16s. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a group full of rappers hosted by some one DJ who's been in the SA game, in the South African game for a while. I was saying to the dudes, like, what would be really dope about this conversation that we're having as well is you're not from the states, just like when we met, we both came in as do some different countries. Now you've kind of settled in there. You're doing what you got to do. You followed your passions. It's so easy. I think especially in the states, it's so easy to go to a new place, or even when you graduate or whatever it is. No matter where you are, and you kind of like become life normalizes you to what society expects you to do, and what
Right.
what you think that you should do just to survive. So I mean, like, what kind of led you to the path of let me stick true to what's rather stick to what's true to me, and because it is difficult, especially when you're far from home.
Right. Man, that's a good question because it's so wild. Like me even coming here was like one of those societal norms, like all right, you got to get an education, you got to go to college, you got to do this, you know. And
Word.
I was always like, trying to, I guess, impress my parents, trying to prove to them that, I'm not always just joking around. I'm not always messing around. I'm not. I do actually care about, what I want to do with my life. But it's more about what direction I want to go with it,
Word.
And how I ended up in St. Louis was I ran track and I got a scholarship to go to school in Linwood. So it was an opportunity for me to go get an education, basically for free.
Yeah.
So I took the opportunity, but when I went to college, I had no idea of what I wanted to do. I had no idea of what I was going to go to college for. I had no idea of, all right, I'm going to go and do this. So I said something when everybody asked me. I just said, I'm going to be an engineer, because it sounded good. It sounded like the thing that you would go to college for to be an engineer, and you're going to make a lot of money, So I'm thinking like, all right. And when I got to college and when I realized that, school alone, like just to get an education, wasn't the way for me, was because my first advisor, when I told her that, I wanted to do engineering and I just didn't know what classes I need to go in. And she told me straight up, she was like, yeah, I don't know if this is for you. And she sent me to another advisor. She sent me to another advisor to try and help me like figure out what I wanted to do,
Word.
And I was in my dorm. This was probably my second semester at Linwood. First semester, they just said, just try to do some gen eds and kind of get an idea of what you want to do. And, you can figure out by a second semester. So my second semester, I'm sitting in my dorm and I'm like, yo, what am I going to do? Like, I really want to take this opportunity to get this education, but I want to use it to the full advantage. And I've always had a passion for music. Always. Like, I always had a passion for music. I always wanted to be a producer and, produce music for artists. And I was like, you know what, maybe I can go to school to, do music.
Word.
Maybe I'll try to get a degree in music and I could figure it out, probably like learn how to be a dope producer. And when I tried to do that, at Linwood at the time, you had to know how to play and be classically trained to do an audition to even be considered for a music degree. And at the time, I couldn't play the piano, so it was like that was out of the question. That was like I didn't know any other instrument to play, so it was like that was out of the question.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do films, and like as a kid, I would always come up with stories and ideas for stories, and people would always say, "Oh, you should turn it into a movie," So I said to myself, and a young kid coming from the Bahamas, it didn't seem as realistic to me, at first. But having the opportunity, I said, I'll take a shot. So I went and I knew Jack Nicholson said, if you want to be a good director, you should become an actor,
Word.
So I went and I took up theater. And then when I became a theater major, and, it kind of put me on the path of meeting some people I needed to meet. And then they guided me in the direction of mass communications. And then that's what like really took me to the next level, because once I learned mass communications, it really encompassed everything that I wanted to do just under media. And that's how I started, tapping more into my creative field of videography, photography, continuing music production, writing, script writing, and stuff like that. So, and, it just took me actually believing in myself and my true passions and taking a bet on myself, taking the chance on myself rather than just doing what my parents would have wanted me to do or going and getting an engineering degree,
Yeah. But Word, what? Funny enough, when you speak, what it kind of reminds me of, and I actually say this to a lot of South Africans, because you're not really exposed to it until you leave the country. I'm like, man, I don't think we realize how together or not alone that we are. Like, if I meet guys from the islands, from the Caribbean, guys from South America, and I'm speaking more particularly to people of dark skin, colored, or people who are black, or of African descent. Like, our parents are so similar. how we're raised is so similar. Like, all these things that you're saying to right now, somebody in Nigeria to somebody in Pretoria or Johannesburg, can say like, yo, man, my mom was just like that. Or my parents were just like that. They were like, go get that degree. Don't come to me about music. Don't talk to me about marketing or any bit of it.
Right, right,
And there's that
right.
expectation. So it's super crazy. And I mean, not just that, but I mean, like above and beyond that, there's a whole lot of similarities, that we have and that we share.
Yeah.
But the irony is that we're so divided. It's crazy. Um,
We're so divided for the same reason
word.
why we have those same sorts of ideals.
Mm. You see, it's all planned.
It's almost like the division creates the create because there's like something to capitalize off of, but you don't realize that you capitalize off of by trying to find something to capitalize off of. Just like going to school to get that education, you're being capitalized on as a student to pay the debt. But our parents are not thinking about the debt. They're thinking about which isn't a guarantee, but it's a guarantee.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're all brainwashed, man. Sometimes we can even feel like we're fighting the good fight, but it's because we've been led to fight a specific fight in a specific way, conditioned to fight in a specific way for specific things.
Right.
Because nothing really changes, What ends up
Right.
happening is that like white folk actually just get richer. I know.
Right.
I know.
They're getting richer off.
Yeah, I mean, look,
off of your like
slavery ended,
your
colonization
tribes.
ended. Who got richer? Even today, I mean, black people become free over time. Who got richer? Who got more free?
Yeah, but we don't become free until we own it, man. And that's the part that a lot of parents are not understanding. Kids who want to own their passion, own their skill, own their ability, and hone in on those things. It's kind of looked down upon, but they rather you go and get a quote unquote secure job working for the same person that they're telling you that you're fighting against, or the same idealistic system. You know what I mean? It's so crazy.
It's
man.
crazy. It's a cycle,
but that's a different
man.
topic. I don't want.
Yeah.
Go,
yeah, we can go.
Topic,
We can go hours. We can go hours on that, man. We can go hours on that. I mean, that's really relevant to what's going on in the world now in a different way. Maybe just to end it off on regards to that topic. What's happening in St. Louis there with regards to the protests? What's happening there? I haven't seen anything other than you guys, other than Ferguson getting their first black mayor. What's happening there?
Man, all right. Before I speak on, I just want to say that I don't want to ever since the protests and stuff here in St. Louis, it's just been like some of the protests have been really peaceful. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Some of them have been really peaceful. There has been events surrounding the protests that may have not other isolated incidents outside of those events, but happened within the same space. So things that happened, like there was a young gentleman that got shot in the head.
Whoa.
Out here, we don't know if it was police related or if it was just
in the time.
If it was just street related. But it was during the same time. Also, there was a ex-police officer, a black guy. He was shot. And I saw they said that they caught the guy. They took it as an opportunity to label every person involved in the entire movement, to take an opportunity to send a jab at them. Like, it's everybody that's involved in the crime. It's everybody that's involved in protests, that's involved in the madness, and it's like it's different groups of people, and that's the hardest thing for me here in St. Louis because also yesterday there's like some sort of newspaper somewhere in Missouri. It's called the Missourian, and they posted like a ad in their paper, and they had a cartoon with a black male in a hoodie with a mask on, stealing a purse from a white lady, and she says, "Oh, please help! Call 911."
Oh my gosh!
And then the black guy says, it's just they won't hear you. We defunded the police." That's the ad in the newspaper, the cartoon that they draw. And then the same day, the owner of the newspaper and his son, which was like the editor or something, they both resigned because they had a whole backlash.
But
I'm like, how do you run a whole entire paper and have that in there and don't know? How do you put that in your newspaper? And it's like when you see stuff like that happen in Missouri, you understand why people here get so upset. You understand why people here still feel the way they do because obviously nothing that's changed in St. Louis. Obviously, Missouri still has a lot of the same ideals. So with the protests and stuff, it's just like a revolving door. It's like we're just back here again. We're doing it. But I want to see like some actual change. So I don't want to see people step up and make some legislative changes. And if we're not going to do that, at least let's come together as a group of people in this time when we have an opportunity as a unit to make some sort of unified front for ourselves and, create our own causes. And this means Black forces come out of this. We got to start protecting our own neighborhoods and our own people, and we got to start getting trained on guns and stuff like that. So be it. Let's make those type of moves if that's what it takes. But I don't want to just be like, all right, we holding hands, kumbaya, going on the march, and then be right back here.
100%.
Next year over somebody else.
Because it happens all the time. I mean, look, in South Africa, I think a common topic that comes up.
I remember 5 years ago.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, it's lagging a bit, so I didn't catch you there. I was just saying that in South Africa, for example, like some people are debating, this thing about George Floyd is happening in the States. As much as it's something that's happening that we can, empathize with, they're like, why are we actually giving time and energy to that when we got our own issues in our backyard? And I said to someone recently, I said, it's a valid question, but I was saying that I don't think there's an issue with rallying around something like that in particular. I don't think there's an issue with that, but I think too often enough we become comfortable. So now that we've gone and supported the states, Black Americans, and supporting the movement of George Floyd, or rather fighting against the police and police brutality in particular. That energy, that same fire that we're putting on Twitter, on Instagram, we're out here on the streets. Take that same energy and let it transcend above and beyond. Your social posts, or your speech of support. That's what needs to happen, because even here, there's a whole lot of things that are happening that there hasn't really been any energy into it. Not enough. We just become comfortable. We're like, all right, man, we'll wait for the next tragedy to happen, then we'll spur up and do something. But I can also understand that there's a sense of hopelessness at times. So people are just like, man, ain't nothing gonna change anyway.
They give up. Right. That's it. But that's the thing. That's what I was going to say. Whenever somebody says something like that to you, Neo, you have to tell them the reason why we're getting riled up is not because of it's just police brutality. The what we're standing up against is the same thing that you guys are standing up against in South Africa with apartheid. A lot of African countries are standing up against with other colonizers and European nations and European natives. It's the same. It's an incident that happened under brutality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what everybody is really saying is, all right, if the police can kill Black people, that means, and nobody bats an eye, that means there's an issue with a system that believes that black people are less than or it doesn't matter, you know? And that's why they come with the term Black Lives Matter, and then people get upset and they say, well, all lives matter. But all lives can't matter if Black lives matter less. You know what I mean? It's like, are you saying that we matter equally? Does it matter equally? If all lives matter equally, or are we saying most lives matter? You know? And when we say Black lives, that's every African person across the entire world.
Word.
That's not just an African American. That's just not a person from Jamaica or the Bahamas. That's not just a person from South Africa. That's any African person across the entire world, you know? Because when somebody see an African person, they don't know you from Africa. They don't know you from the Bahamas. They don't know where you're from. They see a black person and they automatically think that, you know. Now there might be some certain aesthetics of a person that can kind of give off that, you know, this person might be from Africa. This person might be from outside of the country, you know, but that still doesn't take away from your blackness.
100%.
You know?
That's true.
And that's what we fighting, bro. It's not just police brutality. It's not just police killing people, because the police, when they go home, they take off their uniform and they're just people. You know what I mean? They're just regular people. You know, the uniform is just the clothes that they put on, and they put on a badge. And that badge gives them certain authorities, but that authority has nothing to do with human rights. You know, that authority has nothing to do with taking people's life for senselessness. You're just another human being just like me, and you're no judge over my life. You're somebody who's supposed to uphold the law and, you know, take me to see a judge. You know what I mean? Let me at least get to a judge so I can try my case, you know? But if we can't even make it to see a judge, then it's pointless.
Exactly.
You know?
Why are we breathing?
It's no judicial system. It's a murder system.
It's a murder system.
You know? And you know, and even when they put us in the prisons, Neil, it's a form of murder, because if we have men in prisons, they can't produce children. You know, they can't produce offspring if they're in prison. Yeah. Right. So those women who are not, you know, we're going without spreading seeds. We're going without, you know, creating generations for the future, generating the generations of the future for us as a people. You know, whilst everybody else still has the privilege to do so, without having to worry about being mass incarcerated, without having to worry about being murdered by police officers or just random people when you're jogging on the street. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not even only police officers, you know? Or even being discriminated against or profiled. Because it doesn't even have to be as extreme as being killed. It could just be as, you know, kind of depriving you of your right to even live. Like, you could get a good job or make a certain pay grade, you know what I mean? Get into a certain college. All of these different discriminatory like things that go against us as a people. And that's what we fighting over, dog. It's not just the murders. This is what we sick and tired of. Like, we've been living in a society where we've been getting donated and all of this stuff, and we just been taking it, like you say, they just complacent and they say, you know, it's hopeless.
Yeah.
But when we get to the point of that anger, and we get tired of like seeing the senselessness of the hatred, that's when it becomes an issue, because it's like, it should have been an issue from beforehand, but because it wasn't an issue beforehand and we just accepted it, it progressed to the point of it just being like this now. And then we get mad when it's like this, when we wasn't fighting against it, when it's been oppressing us the whole time. But, you know, that's a story for a different day, because when you live outside people that's been tired of being oppressed and just like let it go. But I understand that, you know, a lot of people feel they feel entitled, dog. You know, I get it. It makes sense. Like 400 years of work and labor, you know, 400 years of work and labor for free. Like you all want a part of it, you know. But what we have to understand is we are wanting a part of something that is falling apart, because we're fighting against it. You know, we're fighting against it, and our fighting against it means it's being dismantled, or it means to dismantle it. But to dismantle it, why are we trying to dismantle something that we want a part of? You know? Yeah. So it's like, you got to understand that it only exists because of our oppression. And it means that we must oppress somebody else to have the same type of life. And if that's something we're looking forward to, then we just need to get that idea out of our head. You know what I mean? Get it out of our head. If we're thinking it's going to be like that for us to to just be able to do it to somebody else. So if that's not what we're gonna do, then we just need to go figure it out for ourselves and do it for ourselves, bro.
Yeah, man. Maybe. So I want to say, I actually want to make two comments. One in closing, and then leading into something else.
Okay.
Um, First and foremost, I think the one thing that we don't do enough, and I'm not gonna blame black people for it. I'm just gonna say, it's just the fact is we don't do it enough. Is that if you look at other communities, man, if you look at Chinese communities, sorry, not Chinese, but Asian communities. If you look at white communities, so different types of white communities, Jewish communities, Islamic communities, all these people, they kind of build and grow their communities within themselves, you know, and that's because that's
Right.
normalized. That's what's normal today. You'll know where to go to, like, the Chinese market, and they'll be
Right.
together. They'll be investing in their own communities together, building themselves together, and then it's just one of those things. Whereas we are always like, either the workforce or the energy force for some of these things to actually thrive and to survive instead of actually enriching ourselves. Now, I don't say that lightly, because I know that it's not that easy, because of the position we've been placed in historically and continuously even till today. But I'm just saying that, you touched on something there. We actually got to be creating communities. We need to get guys who are like, okay, I'm going to specialize in different skill sets. We're going to have a group of dudes or girls who become lawyers, group of people who become accountants, group of people who start becoming property managers, different fields, people who start owning their own record labels, black people start becoming engineers, and not just working for the big firms. Like, I know you can do all those things to get experience, but then you bring it back and be like, okay, let's now create our communities. How do we allow ourselves to be self-sustainable? What skill sets do we need? How do we do that? How do we
By
enrich
creating
that?
our own market, Neo.
Yeah,
We're having these skills, but we're putting these skills in somebody else's market. That's
exactly.
the problem, and that's why we keep falling, because we relying on their acceptance in their market instead of creating our own market for ourselves to move amongst ourselves and to succeed amongst ourselves and to support one another instead of just trying to support this big ocean of everybody. You know what I mean?
Word. No,
When we only
100%.
getting raindrops.
Yeah, well, we are bleeding to everybody else's market but our own, and I can say I'm victim of that, and most of us are victim of that. But I think it's what needs to happen is we need to have that conversation and be like, all right, what is it that we want to do? How do we become self-sustainable?
That,
Um, all right, with our kids, it might be,
that's the real
yeah, how exactly
question. That's the question.
how do we become self-sustainable?
What is that we all want? That we, something that we can all agree on. But the thing that we all have agreed on is to be complacent in a society that is continually oppressing us. That's what we're agreeing on right now as a community. That's just me being
No, I hear
honest.
you.
We agreeing to just deal with it, you know? But yeah.
What I was gonna say is, what's interesting, and what kind of inspired me to have this show as well, ironically, and not just this, but just some other ideas. There's an American family, a Black American family. They moved to Gambia here in Africa. I don't know how long ago. I think it's about, like, let's say 5 to 7 years ago. I don't know the full story yet. I haven't really indulged in their social media channels, but my understanding is that the
Wow.
family decided, you know what, we're gonna leave America. We're going back to Africa. That family bought like a 1,000 acre. I think it was a 1,000 acre farm. It was quite a huge property, vacant plot. And like the father's there every day. He wakes up. He goes into the field. He's busy. He's plowing. He's got a group of people that he's hired in that community to help build. So now they're building agricultural holdings and
Right.
actual sustainable land. I'm not too sure what they're gonna be growing, but I mean, like, this dude said, man, you know what? I'm gonna go become a millionaire in Africa. I'm leaving. I'm taking my family because his daughter.
Right.
That's actually how I picked him up, through the daughter having a YouTube channel. He's like, man, I'm taking my whole family.
Okay.
I would rather leave. I would rather take my young girl right now from the States in high school where she's built a life. She has her friends, etc. We're going back to Africa and we're going to build something. We're going to hire people in the community. We're going to build something. We will profit, but the community will profit too. And I was like, damn, man, you know what? That's it.
Right.
That's absolutely it. Like, my biggest dream, and I know it won't happen in my, I know it won't happen in my, in my lifetime. I know it won't happen in my lifetime,
Entire lifetime.
but yeah, my entire lifetime. But man, I would just hope that Africa, because if Africa and all the African countries could come together, build a united Africa, build a centralized economy, or a currency, build. And I was saying to someone the other day, man, we got some smart ass people from Africa, probably one of the smartest in the world. Get guys who are linguistic specialists.
Yes, bro.
Build a new centralized language. Remove English as the number one business
Right,
language. Still teach it. Still teach it. Like Europeans, like from different countries, like they know their language. A lot of them know their
right,
own language, but they still know
right.
English. So still teach English, but teach a centralized
Because
African
English
language.
is their own too. English is their own too, though.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And then just build that, because you know what I was saying, that the thing is, it's so difficult because of corruption and greed and all of that, and of course being in the pockets of white monopoly capital, but um,
Yeah, it's
dude,
all from the same root.
and for me it's a thing of, we're not cutting out the world. We're not saying Africa's going to stand alone. We're saying fuck you guys. Well,
No,
you guys are out.
we gonna
No,
stand together.
yeah, we'll sell to you. We're not buying from you.
Right,
You want oil? Alright, this is how much. We have our own refineries. We'll give you the end product. You want gold? Shit, we got it too. You want wheat? Shit, we got it too.
right,
You want marijuana? Shit, we got it too. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is, we're not cutting off the
right.
world because we live in a globalized society. But man, you keep it within. You
And we're
know.
gonna share. It's gonna be things that we're gonna trade with other people too. But it's like you say, we gonna everything gonna be self sustainable. We ain't gonna have no need for nothing else. It ain't gonna be like we need to get it from everybody else because we could have it for ourselves if it came down to it, and nobody could ever choke us out and say, "Yo, y'all can't have this because this," or we wanna do this to y'all to kind of bully you into doing something else. So we're gonna take this away, like what the U.S. does with China, with tariffs and
Hundred
stuff
percent.
like that. And it's like that's the problem. Like everybody be having too much control over everybody with like
100%.
economics, and with us is like as a black nation, because we are a black nation. Like that's what we have to understand. We keep seeing ourselves as separate. It's so crazy. People in Houston see themselves as different than people in St. Louis. People in Chicago see themselves as different from people in St. Louis. But like everybody looking at them as black African Americans. You know what I mean? And it's like we have to see ourselves as a nation, and as a nation of people, like our economics is all messed up. You
Yeah.
know, it's like it's messed up because one, we don't have a unified economic front. Two, all our economics is fueling the white economy and the world economy, not just the white economy, because it's like the Arabs and the Asians and everybody else. We fueling their economies with our dollars constantly every day, and we don't have like a solid front on our own. Our money, we don't even have a money. We don't even have money. You know what I mean? Like African countries that y'all have. What are y'all using right now? Are y'all using your own money, or you guys using the euro now?
So we in Southern Africa, so a few of the countries in Southern Africa have their own currency. So we have the South African rand, but man,
Okay,
but still, like it's weak. Obviously there's some countries where it's weaker, but it's weak with regards to the dollar, the pound, the euro. Because we're
right,
not just because, but part of it is because we're a net importer. As an economy, we are bringing in some more. We're bringing in more than we actually sending out. You know, um,
right, and that sucks, bro.
that's crazy. And the thing is,
Well,
everything is in
but
Africa.
everything coming from there, dog. That's what I'm saying. They taking everything from there, and
They're
they
like
bringing
you
everything
got it
back.
all, but we still gonna give you, and we're gonna tell you that you need this, and you're gonna take this, even though you got it all.
Yo, they bringing it back to you, dog. They taking it from you, they turning it into something else, and then they bringing it back to you, and they selling it to you and telling you, "Here, buy this from us for more than what we bought it from you."
100%. 100%. You know what this reminds me of? One of the reasons why you're actually one of my favorite people is because it takes me back to not just one, but a build up, an amalgamation of different moments that we experienced during college. I remember not every time necessarily, but a lot
Yes,
of the times in varsity, sorry, in college, like when we would have a studio session, either before or after, and then we just have those chats, man. We have those deep conversations around what's real and what's really happening. You know, and
Definitely.
what I can maybe say about those sessions, you know, or rather that time, is that those conversations that we would have in the studio, we wouldn't necessarily. I felt like I didn't have them enough on campus every day and other times. You know, we're all just living in this movie. You know, that's got a beginning, middle, and end for you, and you know, this is the script.
Yes, sir.
You know, so I really enjoyed those moments. You know, I felt like right now, like, so I did my project Wolf, um, and that project, like, I loved the music, you know, from that project, and it felt like there was growth and an evolution to it. But what was really missing from that whole process for me personally was, you know, what we kind of did. You know, like the studio for me is such an intimate place. You know, it's a place where
Yeah, bro.
it's a different world and different galaxy in the same universe. You know, we'll be in there. The music takes it transcends you into a different
Right.
place,
That's
but
crazy.
then the place itself is still more than just the music. You know what I mean? It's that moment. And
Right.
and you know, I just I'd implore like a lot of artists to really take your time with that, enjoy that. Because you know, there's also that image of, you know, the studio being a place where you got these women who be coming in, there's weed going around, people getting drunk, it's a
Right.
party, you know, chicken
Right.
wings coming through. You know, there's that image that, you know, that popular social platforms really like showcase. But that's not it.
Right.
That's not really it. You know what I mean?
Right. Nah, you're right. That's interesting you said that because I was just in the studio yesterday and I had one of those moments, you know. I didn't have a conversation. Really, it was just like being there and experiencing the the music like being mixed, you know, and like it like you said, it's a universe within the universe, you
Yeah.
know. And when you're listening to a song, especially like a song that you made, you know, it's like it's almost like on a molecular level of the music,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
When you start mixing the track and you start going to individual tracks and you're getting different sounds turned up and it takes you so deep into the song or into the music that, you know, it's like a trip. And I had that experience yesterday. And I'm like, damn, I felt like I left the studio without leaving the studio.
Right.
You know?
So like right now, like since obviously I'm sure you've been through a lot of you've been through quite a lot of dudes since, you know, since we last met. But like, you know, not necessarily the artists, not naming the artists themselves, but what have been some of your moments, favorite moments, you know, since we last met, you know, in terms of in the studio. And you can talk to maybe a specific artist that you worked with, whatever it may be. But like, what are those favorite moments that you've had?
Man, it's been a couple. Like I've been working with a lot of dope artists lately. And man, like I had a moment recently with my well, this was last year. But there's an artist called Angelo Cortez who was working on this project called
Word.
Game of Life.
He's dope.
Um, it's not been released yet, and you know we still it's on the way. You
Wait,
know,
was not
it's on the
released.
way. It's not released yet. You know, um, and I'll talk to you about it later.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
I can't really go into all the details right now, but you know, it's on the way. And but we were in the studio kind of mixing some of the records off of that project. And man, it was just so many dope moments of just like seeing the records come to life because we spent many nights just working on the studio, writing these records and like retweaking these beats over and over. Like we had like 24 versions of this one beat. Like it was that crazy. And it was that type of like project. You know what I mean?
Word.
Like this was one of them projects where I felt like, yo, we really went on and like did everything we could, you know? And it's part of the reason why the record isn't out yet, you know, the project. But um there was so many dope moments, man. Working with Angelo and my dude Native Genius,
You know what it
Lewis,
is.
you know.
Lewis, come on.
And yeah, man, it was like dope experience. And then ever since then, it's just like been elevating. Like we just been continuing to have more moments like that. Like I was in the studio with Angelo yesterday when I had the moment I was talking about just now. You know, like he was mixing the record for artists that I work with, and yeah, another moment was I was mixing this record for an artist called Smooth Light, right? It's an artist out of Illinois and St. Louis here. And we got a record called Kings that's gonna be dropping real soon. Um and man, it was like when we first recorded the song, we recorded it at my studio. You know, I just played the beat for him. And it was like the first beat I played for him when he came. And he was like, okay, I like this right here, dog. This sounds like some Drake shit. That's it. That's what he said when he first started it, right? And it was so funny to me. Because I know I understood what he meant, you know, like I didn't get offended by it. I just knew like, you know, where he was trying to go with it.
Yeah.
And man, like he started writing the record right away. And it was like something about that moment when that happened, I just knew, like I was like, yo, like this might be it. This might be a, you know, like this might go smooth. And he wrote it, he recorded it, and that was it. He was like, all right, that's it. We're gonna just check it out later. And we ended up linking up to go and get the song mixed, you know. And when we went to go get the song mixed, and we got it like started, you know, going into all the individual sounds, getting everything real tight. Man, it was just like, yo, like this when it really hit me. I was like, damn, like this is really hard, you know. Like it was like I can't explain it, man. It was just one of those moments where I just felt it, you know. And then like what was happening at the same time, it was happening right around the same time when like Corona came around. So it was like right before that we recorded it, and then that happened, and I was like,
Damn.
dang, like right when we finally get like the record, and it's like, you know, this crazy stuff starts happening, and we just no matter what, we still made it happen. We still was able to link up and go to the studio to get the record mixed, even though like, you know, it was quarantine. And like even during that time, we still got the energy going. Then right after that, we had like, you know, all of this crazy stuff going on, like with the George Floyd situation, and you know, all the other situations with just race and America, like Trump and just everything. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's been a lot of civil unrest, and the record really talks and speaks to that. You know, and it was so crazy that this was like a time. It was almost like a revolutionary like type of thing, you know, but not like typical, not like you know, not like corny. You know what I mean? Like you know what I'm saying? Like
no, you have those moments
so,
where it's just like it's the time when the universe just takes control. It's like, yo, Ferg,
bro.
take a back seat. We got this, and the universe just takes you in
Let,
the whip, and
yo, that's so crazy you said that because it's like everything with this record was just like that. Like I told you, the first beat I played was the song. Like he wrote it, you know. Then we went to the studio and it was mixed and it was dope. Then all the situations that happened, like even though we had Corona and everything, it gave us the time and the freedom to do it, you know. And then we have all this stuff going on with the riot and stuff, and we was like shooting the video, and we was able to get like a lot of good content for like, you know, the spit to speak more into the message of what he's trying to say into the song, you know. And it all everything just worked out. Like we was standing somewhere and somebody just came with a Black Lives Matter flag, like just in the middle of a shooting. You know what I mean? And it was like, what? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yo, everything was perfect. So I was like, yo, this is like a sign from God, from the universe. You know what I'm saying? And like, yo, just keep going with it, you know, and just be on the lookout, man. Like it's coming soon. And we got some more stuff on the way, though. But that moment there was
it stood
like
out
when I knew, like, yo, this is dope record. Yeah.
And then maybe, you know, I saw some dudes were like, man, it's dope that we're hearing some dudes from the States, you know, doing their thing and having similar moments, like, you know, that people that probably a lot of musicians and producers can actually relate to. Maybe if you can, and I'll give you an idea from my side as well. Like, what's kind of like the difference, not the difference, but what's kind of like the scene like musically there. You know, of course, I'm sure there's hundreds of millions of rappers and singers and artists who are trying to come through. You know, all over the world. So like specifically like in St. Louis, and especially or maybe even with the guys you've worked with. What are the challenges? What's the industry like? You know, like what's your eye on the game?
So, all right, like the average person would probably say like the music scene in St. Louis is like clicky and patchy and stuff. And like as far as like music in St. Louis, it's like there's so many artists. There's so many dope artists in
Word.
St. Louis. You know what I mean? And it's like they be connecting with other artists. You know, they be linking up, and people may call it clicky or whatever, but it's like people just go with whoever they gel with. You know what I mean? People with whoever. You know, so it's like that's just how the scene is, just on the outside. You know, but on like you say, dealing with people, of course, it's gonna be like bullshit when you're dealing with like people. Like you look at them as artists, but they just regular people. So some people professional and some people non-professional. You know what I mean? And that's just the two sides of dealing with it. You got people who don't. That's just me being honest. You know, it's like you got the people who want to get beats for free, you know, but don't want to like put you on the publishing. You know what I mean? They
That
want to
doesn't
they
make
want to take
sense.
all the royalties, and it's like, well, yo, but people don't do that. You put out a song, and then you see the song out, but you don't get no royalties.
That's
You know what I
fucked.
mean? They
That's
never
fucked
hit you
up.
up about doing it, or they try to tell you that oh, they don't know how to do it, or they whatever, they can't do it. And it's like then you gotta go. Then you gotta go through the hassle of it, or they just don't speak to you at all. You know what I mean? Like, and I've heard so many stories. Like, it's just not me like having these experiences. It's just like people that I know and I'm meeting, and they're telling me their experiences. People stealing masters and stuff, and it's like it's not even that serious. You know, it's like we're all like building up. We're all trying to get there, and it's like my thing is if we all work together like collaboratively in the best way possible. Of course, everybody can't work with everybody, but you know, we
Yeah,
can do
word.
something.
That's crazy for me, right? So for me, and I'll get to like South Africa, my view of South Africa. But for me, like, I just can't imagine. If you and I work together, for example, right? I can't imagine you not being with me when I'm getting my Grammy award, for example. From when the beat is being made or when we're going through beats to when we're mixing, when the performances, music video, public appearances, whatever it may be, getting on the stage of the Grammys or
Right,
BET Awards, and we there. Like for me, it's like, and I know it happens. I know it happens, but it's just difficult for me to understand why artists can do that to producers, in particular, because the reality is without the producer, you got nothing. All you got is a freestyle, or maybe somebody beatboxing on the side. The beat gives life to the sound that you're trying to convey, man. So I just don't get that, and I hear it often. Like I was working with I'm working with a producer right now from Italy, and it's the weirdest thing, man. Like this dude from Italy makes the hellish funky ass beats. But we were able to work well together because that conversation was like, yo, man. I said to him, yo, man, publish it. 50% is yours. And I was like, all right, cool. Now that the business is out, let's get to it. And it just became so easy after that. The agreements are made early. The flows can work naturally because business can also like really mess up
right.
those moments. You know what I mean?
That's
Um,
all.
so it's crazy, and I mean, looking at the South African industry as well. Like, so for me, now I'm gonna just speak to hip hop, because
Right.
we've got like, and you should check it out if you haven't. Like, we've got Piano here, which is probably the most popular brand of music currently or genre of music in South Africa right now, to my understanding. I know, like in like the Afrikaans music scene,
What's
there's
it called?
probably Piano. I must actually check. I don't know if it started here in Pretoria in my city, but I know, like, the biggest artist who does it is from my city. But that's something else. It's kind of like house, but it's keys based. But I mean, like, right here from the hip hop side, right? The biggest
Mm.
the biggest issue I have with the guys with hip hop in South Africa today is that, other than, and maybe like like I like the guys like Nasty C. Lewis and I had this conversation actually. I was talking about Nasty C, Shoma Josie, and a few other people who are kind of thinking outside of the scope of the country. It's kind of like guys here are like, man, I'm trying to be king of South Africa, and when I become king of South Africa, I'm gonna be king of South Africa. And it's
Right.
like, yo, man, why would you want to deny yourself from the world? So I don't know what happens in the background, but it just kind of seems like sonically, content
Right.
wise as well. It just kind of seems like dudes are just trying to circulate in the same waters. And I can understand, you want to be top here, but like you can touch everybody in the world. Like, what stops South African artists from working with someone from the Bahamas? What stops South African artists working with somebody from Slovakia? Australia, whatever it may be, Nigeria. Because I mean, like,
Right.
look at the
Because
Niger.
they
Nah,
don't see the value in.
they
They see
don't,
it as
man.
lower than,
And
you know.
I really take like the dudes in
They see
Nigeria,
it.
in the
They don't
west
see
on the
that as
western
a
side,
possibility.
as a possibility. Yeah, no, they don't. And once again, maybe if I had a conversation with some of these big artists, it would be a different thing because maybe they are trying to do different things and there's barriers that I'm not aware of. So I can admit that. But I mean, if you look at like the dudes in Nigeria and the west of
True.
Africa, those guys are like, this is our sound. This is what we're gonna do. We're not gonna work with other people. Other people gonna work with us. And now Afro pop and everything, it's a thing. People gonna be like, man, call that dude
Right.
from Nigeria, man. We gotta, Drake came in, he's like, yo, man, I gotta holler at Wizkid, jump off this. So there's value in owning what you have and trying to expand and
Right.
also like be genuine because I just feel like more often than not, maybe other than the Vernac, so the local speaking artists, I tend to I don't hear enough of genuine content from a lot of artists here, and it's also like clicky as well. Dudes ain't trying to put other dudes on necessarily, but what I started to realize this year from my side as well is, what, sometimes we get too stuck up on what we don't have. We're like, damn, I ain't got access to studio. Damn, I can get a Casper in your vest or an aka the Ken on my track. Damn, I can get a singer to come sing on my beat. Damn, whatever it may be. Instead of really focusing, what do I have? How do I cultivate that? How do I push that? And how do I get on with it? Because you'll see a lot of the best artists in the
Right.
world as well, man. Like they're just like, I'm gonna do me and fuck it. If you saw in Kendrick, J. Cole, all these dudes, even Drake, like, because Drake was different in terms of his peers at the time.
Right.
They were just like, yo,
Right.
this is me. And people ate it, man, because you felt like, even though, you might not necessarily know specifically what that person is going through, you kind of you kind of get a door or welcome into their world. So that's kind of where I'm
Right.
at now, specifically. I'm just like, man, I'm gonna shape my own path. I'm gonna shake my own mold. If people want to ride with me here, that's cool. But music is universal. Music is worldwide. I could holler at you guys. I
Right.
could holler at the guys at Crux, dudes I work with here. I could holler with different people. And we just make it happen. And in the long term, that's actually what I want to do. I want to kind of facilitate those things for different artists. But man, I'm tired of the music bullshit. I think Wale said he's like, man, I'm just tired of the music bullshit. I just want to be in the music. And I wish people could really like take the time to do that more and just enjoy it, man. Because how many memories are created from the songs that people make? Everything is
Right.
connected to music. You know what I mean?
It is.
I mean, I wouldn't have met you, bro, if it wasn't for the music. I wouldn't have met Lewis. I wouldn't
True.
have met Stacy. I wouldn't have met Kitty. Maybe what it is. It's just
Right.
that it brings people together, it connects people, and it's a beautiful thing, man. And maybe just like, I don't know, 'cause I see now we're about to close off. Like any like closing remarks, what's on your mind, what you working on, anything you want to talk about just to close off? Yo, Dwayne, you there?
So, like I said, I just want
Oh,
to
I
touch
can hear
back
you.
on. Be on the lookout for. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying. Like I was saying before, just be on the lookout for that Kings record
Smooth.
and video coming soon. With Smooth Life.
Smooth life.
You can follow him on IG at the Smooth Life. That's DASMOOBELIFE. And just want to say, to all my African people, not just in Africa, all over the world, just know you are loved, know you are strong, know that you have the power to build, You have the power to succeed. You have the power to win. You know, we do it every day, and we don't get the pay for it. You know, we don't get the results for it all the time for ourselves. We just get a cut. You know, let's get it. Let's just know that you can do it. We can do it. Just know that we can be there for one another, and it's not a bad thing. You know, we are brothers and sisters, no matter what, no matter where, no matter how we look. You know, it's like just know, because when they see us, they see us.
Word.
You know, so I love y'all, and yeah, man, D-Ferg on Instagram, D_Ferg1 or D-Ferg Productions. And, you know, appreciate you having me here, dog. Appreciate you even asking me to do it because, you know, sometimes we need to speak, dog.
Yeah, word.
Sometimes we need to speak.
Absolutely. Nah, man, I'm gonna hit you up. Like I said, we've spoken before. I'm gonna hit you up about some things I'm doing. But for now, man, it was good catching up with you. It's good to see you're alive. It's good to see that you're healthy. And yeah, man, just keep that up. Keep the spirit. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep believing in what you do and what you love. And yeah, man, we'll definitely see each other again one day.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, my brother.
Maybe sooner than you know.
Absolutely.
Bro.
Word up. All right, thanks, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. We'll catch you.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Ho, ho, ho. We made it through the first episode. Sorry, we just started a little bit late, guys. We had technical issues. But every week we get better. And yeah, we'll be back here next week, 9 p.m. Standard South African time, or South African Standard Time, Central African time. And next week we'll have our second guest, and we'll talk through. I'll talk through you about who our next guest will be between now and next week. Once again, for anybody who tuned in, thanks for your time. It's one of the most valuable resources. Much love for you, and best believe next week we'll be back with a new drink. Cause I can't do this show without my gin, baby. Much love. The